name is Dave Dehorn, and I'm the Chief Estimator at Brady Company, Los Angeles. So I have a staff of about 3 estimators that I watch over. My day-to-day routine is I manage bid invites that I get through the internet or personal phone calls. And we're pumping out about a bid every 4 to 5 days. So things change. Addendums come up all the time that change what you have to do with the bid, might change the date the bid really bids on. So my schedule is constantly moving, bid dates around and making sure an estimator has enough time to get that job done, and trying to get the other bids that are coming in scheduled with the estimators that are maybe just coming off of a bid so they can get right back into bidding. The thing I like most about it is there's not the same building ever. It's always different. So I get to see a lot of unique things. Sometimes they're plain buildings, but sometimes they're great, Lucas Museum, big hospitals that have all these unique things in them. So a lot of unique projects and unique materials that go into them. So I graduated from college and I was working for my neighbor who was appraising real estate for not quite a year. And my mom found an ad in the newspaper for a project engineer on a construction site. So this was back in 1987. So I went to that job site, interviewed, and I got hired by that company. And this is my 35th year with the same company. So I started as a project engineer on a job site and then moved into the Monterey office at the time and started working as an estimator there. And about 3 or 4 years after that, I moved down to the LA office and became a senior estimator and worked my way up to chief estimator. I look at bid invites. I probably get 30 to 40 bid invites a day through the internet. Obviously most of them, 90% of them are non-union, just work that we don't do. So it's easy to kind of turn those down. The ones that are interesting, I follow up on those. I'll actually download the plans, download the specs. I read through a ton of specs. I want to see what materials are in there before we commit to bidding the job. I want to see what manufacturers they list. Sometimes they list manufacturers that are not in our area. And so we either have to do a substitution request to try to get local manufacturers in our area. I look at the plans to make sure if it's something that we want to go after. If it's our type of work. We do fireproofing, metal stud framing, drywall, lath and plaster. So if that job has all of those trades on it, that's a good hit for us. If it just has metal studs and drywall, we got some other trades to fill up, and maybe I'll go after another project that has more of that kind of scope of work. I also, throughout the day, want to know how my estimators are doing. So I check in with them. If they have a bid due, we set up a time to review it. So I'll go in there and try to review it before our general manager finally does his final review. He looks at every bid that goes out of the office. Along with that, we have a database that we use with our estimating software, and I maintain that database. I probably have 4,000 materials in that database, and with new materials that are coming out all the time, we want to try and get that into the database so that we can utilize them, and when we send our quotes out for pricing on materials, our vendors can easily recognize what the name of the material is, and they're familiar with the names, because names get thrown around. You have angle, you have shiny 90, you have diverter, it's all the same thing. So we try to call it what the manufacturer calls it to make it easy on the suppliers that are pricing out the materials for us. I think what gets me excited is that it is changing. It changes quite a bit, and you've got to keep up to it. Back when I started estimating 30 some odd years ago, you would call a general contractor and actually go pick up a roll of drawings at their office. And addendums were far and few between, because the drawings were pretty good. You know, then we moved into where we had fax machines. And fax machines all of a sudden gets, well, I faxed you that information, can't you fax it back to me? You know, instead of putting stuff in the mail. And then we got into the internet, and that just accelerated stuff more and more. And so you got to keep up with all that technology. The way we estimate, we used to take off everything by hand and write them on paper, and you know, that's all done in the computers nowadays. And so keeping up with that and seeing where that technology is leading is fun to see. There's some pretty slick systems out there that are being developed that do a lot of the takeoff almost for you. They're not quite there yet, but I've seen some samples of them, and that's going to be interesting. Well, I have a family. I want to make sure that I've got a 22-year-old son and a 18-year-old daughter and a great wife, and I want to make sure that they're happy and that we're moving forward and growing at the same time. So that makes me get up every morning and go to work, and you know, retirement's coming up, probably in 6-7 years or so, and so I want to make sure that I can get the most out of working so that we have somewhat of a comfortable life to retire on and look forward to having some great time in the future with, you know, more of the family. There's a lot of change in construction. We've had recessions. You know, there's good times and there's bad times. So during the bad times, I've been fortunate with this company that they've kept me around. Always try to, you know, go out of your way to do a little bit better on your jobs. I see so many people that just show up at 8 and they leave at 5 and that's it. So to put in a little bit more effort, make sure to dot your I's, cross your T's, just do a really, really good job. And those people during the downtime tend to stay with the company and even rise up. Of course, when the times are good, enjoy those times, because there will be times when the economy turns around and goes down again. That's just the way construction is. Yeah, to have the teens really try hard to do their best at what they're trying to do. I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is I walk for about half hour, it's about 2 miles. I come back, I get ready for work, I get to the office, do a few things on my computer before work starts, and then get into work. So my morning routine is really just getting up and exercising Monday through Friday. So my dad was a civil engineer, and I went off to school and I got into civil engineering my first semester. And after my first semester, I thought, this is not for me. So I didn't know what I wanted to be after that. I finished out school, and one thing about school was I know I didn't need a particular certificate or something to do what I wanted to do. Didn't have to have a license or something like that. So I finished school and I just got into construction. I was a little handy around the house with working with wood and stuff like that, so I had a little knowledge of how parts and pieces go together and the different tools. But really just getting in with this company as a project engineer and then seeing the capabilities of where you can go as you advance through the company, that really got me motivated to where I am today. Hobbies, I love to play golf. I've been playing golf since I was really little. It's getting harder and harder to play golf as you get older, but I'm still enjoying golf. And then probably about 5-6 years ago, I started off-roading. So I bought a Jeep, and I have a lot of fun doing that with my family and some good friends that we go up to Big Bear and Idlewild, and we take these amazing vehicles and put them in spots that you would think they would never be able to go, and then turn around and drive them home, and it's my daily driver today. So I have a lot of fun with the Jeep.